Hello friends, family, and other creatures of the sea. Welcome back to another best of 3. Today, the top right spawning as the blue Protoss player playing for Team Alpha X. It's a classic. And in the bottom left, the man known as Micro Jackson. It is of course Byun, playing for Team Shopify's Rebellion. So the barracks gets built here on the high ground for Byun. And that is lovely to see both of the barracks, or well, at least the first barracks at home. The second barracks most likely also is going to be at home. There has been times where this was different, where Byun liked the proxy barracks. Still possible, well, actually no. I was going to say maybe it's going to be something of an eBay. What are they saying? Cold key, hot. And then Classic said something funky as well. Then both players were ready. So exciting. Byun actually is extremely funny in chat. Like, he is very talkative and he always throws out funky little things. Whenever I play against him, he's always very nice in the lobby chat before the game. And I'm like, this guy's pretty nice. And then you play against him, he starts with an eBay block, then runs 3 Hellions or 4 Hellions into your main base. And then with his first 2 medevacts, absolutely blasts you off of the face of the earth. It's like, well, It was all fake. Nice fakery. This guy doesn't give a crap about me. He just wants my MMR points. Or my tournament spot. He's very, very powerful, Byun. Actually went for a scout here with the SCV, by the way. Cool to see. And he plays... Wait, what? Barracks into tech lab from a Reaper. Okay. Now we're talking. Now, this is a build order that we don't see every single day. At the same time, Classic opened up with a very fast Stargate here. And this must have been from a Nexus before core and a Reaper wall. That's a little bit greedy. And I don't think I need to explain why that is a little bit greedy. Byun's not gonna go in. Odd. Very odd. I really think that he could have gotten a worker. The reason why I say this is greedy is because if your adept doesn't pop out at your mineral line, it needs to walk another 3 seconds to come to the Reaper. And often the Reaper can actually get a little bit of damage done in that time. This Reaper would... He is... What? Okay, this was really poor control out of Byun. I believe he could have killed a worker either in the main base, and this worker should have died a million times. He even went back for it, we saw that. Sloppy control out of the Korean Terran so far, who should be aware that something is going on. However, he isn't really responding to it. I mean, he's only seen a single pylon so far, and now even sees the Stargate. Now, this is a pretty clear sign that something is proxied if you scout the proxy. Classic should just, of course, ignore these Marauders and straight up go for the main base. That's exactly what he's doing here. Oh, this is not good here for Byun. This is a very bad start for the Korean Terran players. Going to lose 3-4 workers. Well, if only. It's going to lose 4 or 5 workers. And Mule goes down as well. That at half HP. That's a good call. 5, 6, 5 workers go down. It's going to stay with just a... Lord, Classic is a... Look at this. Classic is something else. Nexus into 3 gate here. Okay, now we're talking. An extremely quick Nexus. The tech is a little bit delayed though, that I'm not the biggest fan of. I wouldn't mind seeing either a fast Twilight Council or even the Robo that he initially was planning on throwing down. I think this will be a Robo actually. No, it goes into the main base, it will be Twilight. If it's downstairs it's a Robo, if it's upstairs it's a Twilight. It will be Twilight Forge here. Single Oracle. Follow-up push out of Byun has some potential though. This is a 3-Rex with siege tanks. And it all got scouted. Let's be real here. It all got scouted. If Classic dies, he has no one to blame but himself. Concussive is out. Yes, that's true. Robo gets built here. Okay. This is a lot of tech for playing against a 2.5 base all-in. Without any real potential of a follow-up. Oracle's going to pop in here and see a single Cyclone defending this. I think that Cyclone is... Or sorry, that Oracle should die. Good scan. And of course knowing the limits of its units, of his units. His combat shield is a little over halfway done right now. Second tank on the way as well. A couple of Marauders being popped out and 12 Marines moving forward. Reaper scouting around the map, looking for something. +1 and Blink both being researched right now. At this moment, still for Classic, of course, won't be done for this push. And now Classic is going to realize that he might be in a little bit of trouble. Without Blink and concussive shells here, this is not really a fight that he can take. Oh, Byun, this is so risky. If Classic realizes what's going to happen, he could move to this ramp. Perhaps force field this once or twice. Hello? Good mama. That was a slow force field. That was way too late. All of these Marines and Marauders here on the top side, dishing out a crap ton of damage. We still have these 2 tanks down here as well. Now, large portion of this army is going to move towards the right side. As this sentry is taking a fair amount of damage as well. Immortal's gonna start moving forward. This is just... Where did the other tank? Okay, the other tank is moving towards the far right side here. At the same time, Byun says, hey, I think I can actually transition out of it. Starts stim at home. Continues building more workers. I wouldn't mind an eBay there either. A couple of bunkers are being used here aggressively. There's 3 Marauders, of course, still with concussive shells. No Blink, no +1. No charge here. So a tank gets taken out, but a lot of probes will also fall if Classic isn't careful. Even if Classic is careful, these probes are going to fall. Both Immortals shooting at an STV right now. While there's a perfectly fine tank here, ripe for dying. Ready to go to Terran Heaven. Batteries here aren't assisting too much. As these 2... He's going to go for a flank again. Gets both tanks. That was big. At the same time, these batteries are still alive. We have no super battery available. Blink still not quite done yet. And the control for Byun here is absolutely magnificent. This pylon will get taken out. Both of the batteries will get unpowered. There is a triple Immortal army here that should be capable of clearing this army. But I think at this point, we could see Byun saying something along the lines of, hey, this isn't all that bad. I'm up in supply. I have Stim that's about to finish. I think he can Stim forward. He's not quite sure either. He's not quite sure, and I understand that. For a second I thought he could, but then 3 extra Stalkers pop in, and perhaps he can't. 3rd CC on the way right now for Byun. Starport is building. That does mean that this army will stay low for a long time. Very ballsy Blink out of Classic. Will losing 2 Stalkers. But also shows off his massive balls, so really, you know, there's a win and a loss there. Showing off that he has a lot of courage. This ain't no liquid courage, he always has that. Starport is going to swap over with the factory. Get on the reactor. Double medevac production on the way. The 3rd CC is about to finish up. Barracks 4 and 5 are done, and double eBay. Okay, I like this a lot. So generally I'm not a huge fan if it's 3 racks into triple CC of double eBay, but because that first eBay was so late, I do think you need to somehow, some way catch up with what the Protoss is doing when it comes to the upgrades. As +2 is already on the way for Classic, and otherwise you'll end up with a +1 Terran army against a +2 Protoss army. That's not going to be pretty. That's not going to be pretty. Of course, Classic also has the ability to throw down a second forge if he wants to. There's a large time window now for Classic to really kind of power up, and that's exactly what he's doing. We see these thermal lens upgrades, Colossi, extra gateways are being constructed here. And when I say gateways, I mean a single gateway is being constructed. It wouldn't surprise me if he throws down some extra tech, Templar Archive for second robo, or maybe even some extra gateways right now at this point. Now that the Templar Archives has gone down, I think the gateway count is just a little bit too low. I wouldn't mind going up to 8, going up to 9 here, maybe even up to 10, depending how Classic feels. Has a good army as well. Lots of powerful core units. 4 Immortals, 4 Immortals, 1 Colossi, 2 Sentries. There's no cannon fodder in this army. There's 11 Zealots, that's it. 7 Stalkers, which are going to provide great value here in the main base. Surprised that Classic has all of these units in his main already, because the medevacs are so delayed compared to what it usually is, that the medevac count is simply going to be too low to drop a significant amount of units into your main base, and thus a pure Stalker defense here would have been absolutely sufficient. This is something Byun does a lot, by the way. Rather than dropping, he just walks to the low ground and starts killing buildings. At the same time, a medevac-less army, or well, a delayed medevac army, is moving in, and this will need to be a pickup, and it is a pickup. will perhaps drop straight away at this fort base, which will get cancelled. Byun, the king of splitting his army in two, into a very fast 1-1 push. With double eBay, I would have expected an armory here to go into 2-2 upgrades. But no, we see Byun saying, I want to really focus on either denying a fort base or trying to take a fight around your fort base. Goes for that, what's it? Enhanced shockwaves. And the Viking production after 4 medevacs already. This really has some potential. This has potential to do a lot of damage. It's going to be 6 to 8 Vikings, 3 Ghosts with the enhanced shockwaves, and there's 1-1 upgrade. So, same amount of upgrades. It's +2 versus 1-1, both of them having 2 upgrades. Now, of course, the attack upgrade is a little bit more important for the Terran than it is for the Protoss. But with these Colossi and these Immortals, it will also benefit the TOS army greatly. And this almost feels like a... Well, this doesn't almost feel like a mistake. This is a mistake, as Classic is pushing into a push right here. And the Terran, I think, is sacrificing a lot for this push. I mean, he's sacrificing upgrades, a faster fort base. Classic is still getting extra Colossi, but Classic also has a massive setup for a big timing. Whenever you see a Protoss go into these big Archon armies, you know they want to do a timing, because Archons fall off heavily once EMPs come out. Now, we need to have a look at how Byun is going to set up this fight. Is he going to kind of walk back down? Is he going to kite back down? Or will he just set up a massive, absolutely massive concave here? No, he actually goes in, wants to be capable of kiting back a little bit, doesn't go for a standing fight with a big concave. You see him kiting back right now, Colossi taking a bit of a beating against these Vikings as well. These EMPs, they hit in such a massive way, and at this point Byun knows he can just straight up move forward. Is going to absolutely clean up this army. Prism will get taken out with the Colossi in it. His final Immortal will get cleared as well, as Byun takes a massive W here. Big win for the Terran player here, who's already going into 2-2 upgrades. And this is why I didn't really like that for Classic so much. Just attacking into a timing often isn't the way. Once Ghost and Vikings are being produced at the same time, you can assume that the double E-base haven't been working overtime, as there's simply no gas for that majority of the cases. What got cancelled there? I'm not quite sure. 3 more barracks on the way. This is some classic Byun plays, by the way. Rather than heading into a fast second starport, get that air unit production up, he loves to get back into large bio counts to just start multitasking again. And he'll stay on one starport for a very long time. Now he's reproducing medevacs again. I love this. This is typical Byun, and this is one of the things that you can really see. He differs in style from a lot of other players, where other players love going into the double starport and pumping out high amounts of Vikings, and after that going into the Liberators. We almost never see Byun go into Liberators, sticking with that bio ghost force and feeling very comfortable with it, even rebuilding some of these mines right now, as he knows that after resetting the Colossi count, perhaps a return to a more Chartrot-based composition is in the works. That's not quite the case. Immortal Colossi is still going to be the name of the game here for Classic. But with 2-2 finishing up, with Ghost being available, 3 Ghosts out already, 3 more on the way, and with a Viking count that, although it doesn't look menacing, it's still important that there are some Vikings here. Because Vikings, A, they force out Stalkers, which makes the ground army weaker, and B, they always do some damage on the Colossi, which makes it more difficult for the Protoss to really kite back and forth without any consequence. There's no Observer with this army, which means that these mines might be a bit of an issue already to start with. Good EMP. Oh my god, that was a great EMP. Can we get 2 more? No, because Byun wants to actually conserve these EMPs, and I like that as well. Mine is starting to walk towards the fort base. That's the last thing that mine will do in its short-lived life. Poor fella. Can't win them all. Fort base is mining here for Classic. Only off of 72 workers. 5th on the way as well. Going for that line setup here. You see that? Rather than taking a fort base, which tends to be very common for Protoss players, we see that line setup here for Classic. Really fighting for tower vision, because the moment he loses vision of this tower, he loses control of this area, and that means that he probably can't defend his 3rd and 4th base at the same time. So whenever you take that line base, you need to play more aggressive. You're forced to be more out on the map. As we see Byun, he scans, he sees this army, and as a response immediately flies to the tower. He says, hey, if I can get vision of this tower, that would be a huge deal. That would be so big, because not only does it make it easy for Byun to set up a fight, but it also makes it super uncomfortable for Classic to be on the right side of the map, because he doesn't know what's coming to his bases. This drop is going to keep moving on, and now we see Byun actually going for a move out as well. 3-3 hasn't finished up quite yet. These Vikings fly into a couple of Archon shots. I think a couple of decent EMPs could help here, but Byun just doesn't want to fight before 3-3. He says, no, I actually don't want to. I don't care what you have. 11 Vikings though, and a lot of EMPs. I think Byun can fight this, and he will have to fight this as his third base is currently under assault. Vikings will take out all of the Colossi. Prism also gets taken out. Immortals still are some part of the backbone here, but the body crumbles as Classic once again loses a pretty deciding fight here. Storm on the way, double Disruptor. I mean, these are cool things, but I think the Disruptor transition should have happened about a minute and a half ago, rather than sticking with as many Archons as he did. It's obvious that Archons are going to fall off the moment you know that Ghosts are here. You know the enhanced shockwaves are there. Debatable decision. Very debatable decision to once again go with a 4-5 Archon army, which is just going to fall off. Now I do like the Archons because the Ghost count has been reset. Perhaps they can provide a little bit of safety in these dark times. But perhaps they also can't, as Byun is quickly moving forward. Another Disruptor ball is not going to hit anything, and now the Disruptors are empty. And this is the time for Byun to shine, as this Archon is going to get taken out. Vikings are landing on the ground, and with this 3-3 army, or well, 3-2 army currently against the 3-1 of Classic, the higher supply, I just don't think that Classic can hold his bases. And this is the problem. The moment he kind of loses control of that tower area, these bases are free. They're just free to pick up here for Byun. So now the Liberators are coming forward, and this is something we don't see very often, is a Liberator switch out of Byun. Then you know the game usually is over already when he starts building libs. Marine Marauders stimming forward, Ghost in the back are EMPing, Disruptors get sniped. I think this might just be a GG gets called. Classic taps out Byun takes game number 1 in this best of 3. We have arrived on Curious Minds. And this is a very curious map indeed, as we see Classic straight away move across the map with one of his first workers. We have to wait and see what he's up to. Oh, I know what he's up to. This is a Classic proxy gate. And it's not just a Classic proxy gate because Classic is doing it, but because this build is an actual Classic. And this is super common against Byun as well. I've alluded to this before in other casts when I would talk about Byun in TVP. Byun has a couple of builds and a couple of quirks that cover each other within a series. So often he won't scout in the first game, and then he will scout in the second game, vice versa. And very often he also throws in a double gas in almost every best of 3. And the reason for this is A, that is powerful against proxy gates, and B, that is actually really good as well against a proxy Stargate, given that you find the Stargate with your initial Reaper. If that isn't the case, you're in major trouble, but if you find the Stargate with the initial Reaper, oh, you're going to be in a fantastic spot. Classic is going to be extremely disappointed right now, just severely disappointed. He looks at this like, oh my god, I got unlucky. Because maybe 30 or 40% of the games, Byun will just not scout and play something completely unsafe. And in that case, this proxy gate would have straight up won the game if you have the control of Classic. If you have the control of me, you would walk the Stalker into a 5 SCV surround and lose it. But Classic, I've seen him control proxy gates. It's a sight to behold, my friends. It's a sight to behold. As we see Classic opening up with a Stalker here, following it up with an Adept. Now Byun scouts the fact that there's nothing here, and he could just straight away go for a Tech Lab, I think would be the most logical choice. I see Byun not a man that appreciates logic. He'll just play Reaper Hellion instead. I'd say that this is an incorrect call. I'm not huge on this, to be honest. But perhaps you need it? Starport is being thrown down right now as a mine is on the way. I could see a mine in some world where you want to hold your own ramp for a little bit. with a mine. I mean, it gets you a free unit if they ever decide to move up the ramp. So it gives you that safety of... But a Hellion into mine is a puzzling... a very puzzling decision here. I just don't quite see what the mine here... Or what the Hellion contributes to the fight. Ooh, that was beautiful. Very good play out of Byun. Nice hiding there of the mine. Also trying to hide that line a little bit. Loses one Reaper though. And I think that these Stalkers are going to be in a little bit of trouble. See Byun trying to break out. And unlike Prison Break, this isn't going to take 7 seasons. No, this is basically instant. And as I say that, he gets put back into jail. So perhaps this is a little bit like Prison Break. Viking is in production as well. As Byun is trying to kind of blind counter either a proxy Stargate or I guess this follow-up, because this is the type of follow-up we don't see very often. This is a double gate prism and it's some type of pressure here. And if this was a medevac with a Cyclone, I actually could have seen some big issues here for Byun, but because this is a Cyclone and a Viking, it's probably going to be just fine. 2 Reapers moved across the map, saw these 2 Stalkers in the main base, and said, okay, what's cooking? Because you can see that something is cooking here. We just don't know what is cooking quite yet. We can smell this, you know, that something has been cooking, but we can't see what's on the stove. And now Byun gets thrown the pan with the hot soup in his face. As the Prism almost goes down. The Prism and the Stalker show up. These Vikings are lifesavers here. Without these Vikings, this could have been game. This would have been game. I mean, there's just not enough Marines. There was no tanks either. The Vikings are an absolute lifesaver here. Classic still has the ability to just deny his opponent's natural for quite a while. Byun is up in workers currently. I think both of the Reapers have fallen. This allows Classic, first of all, you're being so aggressive. Allows Classic to pull these 2 Stalkers across the map. And also he knows that there's no scouting currently. So Byun will need to kind of guess. He needs to guess a little bit here. He's playing it very safe though. I think he knows he's ahead economically. And he says, as long as I don't die right now, I think I'll be fine. So he's very slow, methodical in setting up this natural base defense. So he pushes down with the first tank. 1 tank is on the high ground. And we see this tank, see? Very conservative position here. Classic's trying to push forward. Immortal gets dropped right now. We see some big target fire happening on that tank. Tank gets taken out and this base actually could be in a little bit of trouble. We see some of these workers dying as well. Cyclone gets blasted. Observer not quite in position to spot that high ground currently though. Classic with a good fight. Lost the War Prism though. Continuing Immortal production as well. And this is the longest Immortal in that I've seen in a long time. Just keeps lingering on and on. Good scan. Unless he doesn't get it. In that case it was a bad scan. Bad scan. No, good scan. This man can change of opinion very quickly if he wants to. We'll need to build another observer, otherwise this position is unbreakable. Now, the Marine count is extremely low, which makes it easy to target down these tanks. I like the setup once again that Classic is going for. Needs to go right now as this tank is here. Will go. Zealot ideally would have been tanking, obviously. Immortal, hello on the left side. Immortal on the left side. Can we participate in the fight as well? The answer is no. There's absolutely nothing done. Killed like half a unit. I'm surprised that Classic isn't slowly but surely resuming production in the Nexi at home, because that definitely would have been very helpful. Good control out of Classic though. This observer once again providing a lot of value. And once this tank tries to move down a bit further again, oh, good scan, very good scan. So important, not only stopping the Robo from continuously building Immortals, but also just denying that vision is huge. Here comes another push, but this is not possible. I actually think that Classic needs to leave here. It's over. He needs to leave this base, go home, and think of something better. This is a recalled army. This needs to be a recalled army. It's too late. He's going to try one more time here, moving in with these Stalkers and these Immortals. There's a tank, 2 tanks on the low ground. There's a third one. There's kind of idling up here as well. The Banshee stays alive. Fantastic trades here for Byun, who now will get to completely secure his ramp. And this will be the end of Classic's aggression. Byun's defense really is something else. Forged Twilight once again is going to be a follow-up here. This time it's not of a proxy Stargate, but of a proxy Robo after a proxy gate. Ooh. I was gonna say this seems like a little bit too ambitious, but actually with the 3 tanks on the high ground providing something extra here. Ooh, stim forward. You will get the Immortal, but loses 8 Marines. And it also doesn't get you closer to really denying this spot. Yeah, not the biggest fan of that, honestly. I'm not the biggest fan of that. 2 Zealots with charge. Well, without charge now, but soon hopefully to be with charge. And Byun is just like crawling forward, slowly but surely. I think he's a little bit afraid of charge finishing soon, so he doesn't want to completely go down here with these tanks. He wants to deny this, but he also doesn't care too much, right? He's still a little bit wary of any potential like flanks that could be set up here. Byun is using this Raven largely to scan that left side. Any potential flanks, or maybe also for observers, of course. He does start building a wall here. And this makes a lot of sense, because he just is a bit afraid of potential charge. He saw a double Zealot warp in. And this immediately... You kind of have this alarm going off in the Terran's head. You know, when you're on low production as a Terran and you're playing against charge, tanks are just not good against charge lots. If there's not a lot of Marines in front to kind of tank. I know the tank is called the tank, but it doesn't tank very well. It mainly shoots very well. That way it perhaps should have been called the shoot. And that's a pretty bad name for a tank. As this Banshee is in the bonus natural, dealing a lot of damage. Class, of course, in a fair amount of trouble. I like this getting a 3rd base. I even like the armor as well. And I like the Templar archives with the triple gates. Storm to me seems to be the only slightly viable solution here. But it's not being researched quite yet. We also don't have a prism that will provide extra value for these Templar. Some shelter from the storm, so to say. Even though they're the ones storming. Ooh. Is this locked in? Probably can just leave here now. Archons are so large though. Not meant to fat shame, but these guys, they just don't fit through anything. But here they go. Do manage to fit through that little what do you call it? A tight squeeze. A little area. We have another Immortal being produced here, as Byun is kind of given up on trying to take out this robotics facility and the gateway. He starts moving out. A new day has started. Breathes in the fresh air. It's time to take out the gateway, is what he says. Classic is waiting close by. And he has a large flank set up. It is a scary sight. A very scary sight here for Byun. He's going to be moving back up his ramp. He says, okay, that's the end of the day. And like a caveman family afraid of the dark, he goes back into his hole. These Marines and Marauders start pushing forward and will take out this gateway. It's funny how sometimes, even though if Byun was aware of the situation right now, he'd move out, but just he perceives to be in danger, and thus he stays on his 2 base. Well, there's no real reason to. I mean, he's just light years ahead. He can move up, move out, move across the map, take the 3rd base. He can truly do whatever he wants. He's just giving his opponent a little bit more time, and that's exactly what Classic wants as well. As he starts stacking into Storm. Classic really has been trying to kill his opponent many different times now. Initially with the gateway, then with the Robo, then with a push in the natural, then with a push outside of the natural, and now with Storm. And Classic just has a really low worker count, which means that Classic is still all in. This is not an army that transitions well into a late game. Once ghosts are out, everything that Classic has worked for is useless. He needs to hit pre-ghost. But he also can't attack into 7 tanks. I don't think he can, at least. So this is it's a tricky situation that Classic finds himself in. 13 minutes into this game. 8 tanks are out. Raven is here, still harassing. 3 kills. Oh, here comes the Raven. But feedback will deny this from going in. The Raven will go back into his hole, trying to gather some energy. Poor guy. Collects energy for like an hour and a half. Goes in to throw down his 1 auto turret, and there's just a Templar waiting there with the one job, just to feedback the Raven whenever he wants to throw down something. Sad in a certain way as well. But this is just such a sick defensive setup here, right? 8 tanks, 16 marauders, 24 marines, a liberator turret. There's depot walls being built here. Byun is so hyper aware of what the situation is, I think. I really don't need to attack currently, and he's honestly super right. I think if he gets the ghost and the enhanced shockwaves, a couple of Vikings, he will go, but he just doesn't need to whatsoever. His 1-1 upgrades, he has insanely good tech, his army supply is beautiful, such a huge army. Let's not forget how small this path is toward his opponent's base. Classic is going to try to attack into this, but this is mission impossible. And Tom Cruise is nowhere to be seen. Storms are gonna land on this army actually. Classic getting a pretty decent fight. Immortals pushing out a lot of damage, but there's still 3-4 tanks shooting, shelling away at this army. The Bioforce is too large. The storms get dodged. And the Vikings push this back. We see a recall, but 2 Immortals go down before the recall commences. And the Raven also joins up with the army. This seems like a big F2 move, but I don't even think it's going to matter. And hence Shockwaves will finish up perfectly aligned with this attack to hit. Fort base is being taken for Classic, but it will not see the light of day, as I think Classic will need to tap out here, and Byun will take the series 2-0. GG gets called, and Byun indeed wins. Beautiful series, beautiful game. Fantastic defensive play out of Byun. Very tense situation here in this game, but he manages to make it work. That's going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, don't forget to like button, subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you all next time for a new video. Bye bye.